Good afternoon. How are we doing out there in the world? I myself am not too bad, not too bad. I am on the one. I'm really hoping tail end of a cold here. I think everyone's under the weather right now, and because well, of life, in particular because of COVID spikes. I think everyone's very, very paranoid about potential COVID. So, as far as I'm aware, it is not COVID, because everyone I know who's had COVID of late, it has hit them like a ton of bricks. But we've all been a little bit under the weather in our house, which means tiredness, because it means my wife and I are exhausted. Because we're tired at the best of times, but yeah, exhausted right now. And then our little one, who has had a bit of a cough, which again made us think COVID, but not. Yeah, she's not been sleeping terribly well. So even if she's kind of doing all right, I'll hear her cough in the night, get up, check on her, then back to sleep, and it's breaking my sleeping rhythm. So yeah, I'm kind of tired and a bit run down because of that. But oh well. What can you do? What can you do? I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy out there. So what's going on with me? Well, he says starting a sentence and taking a drink. Is that pub mentality? I think it is, isn't it? It's the I am bagsying my spot to be the next conversation master in this, but I will sip my pints to make sure I know exactly what I want to say before I start it. Weird logic. But there we go. So what's up with me? Well, it was my little one's fourth birthday. Technically Thursday, last Thursday. But it kind of went on for a couple of days. One, because Thursday it's a school night. So my wife and I were at work. And actually, I was in London for most of that day, but I got away a little bit early. So we couldn't do much in the evening. We did some stuff in the evening, but, she was exhausted. We were exhausted. So it kind of spread over a couple of days. But that was really, really nice. I cannot believe she's 4. I genuinely can't. I know this is how time works, and COVID kind of threw a spanner in the works with the tracking of time. But it's so weird that she's 4 now. It's we need to next couple of weeks we need to do things like primary school applications. There's some part of my brain that's still amazed that she's walking and talking. I know it's been happening for a very long time now, but there is still some part of me that is amazed by that, and the fact that she's going to be going to school soon. That's crazy. But there we go. That's such is being a parent. It kind of throws these entirely predictable curveballs at you, but it doesn't stop being weird. There we go. But no, she had a great time. Got to see a lot of family, which was really good, and that is a nice thing about us having moved down from Scotland. We were a lot closer to everyone, so able to see a lot of people over the course of a lot of days. She got spoilt rotten, so she's very, very happy, and got to play with a lot of people. So a success all round, which was good. So yeah, that was good. Kind of related to that, I'm doing it again. I could literally be starting a sentence, so my mouth is going to dry up. I don't know if it's all humans, but or I'm just a particularly poorly designed human, but there we go. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So something else we did yesterday, which we weren't kind of planning to do, is we put up Christmas decorations. Now, I am generally a no Christmas decorations until December person, because it's kind of, you don't want to get Christmased out. It's very much that, Well, it's that combined with, I think there doesn't need to be a festival happening at all times. I think there has to be a normal in there, and that makes, events more exceptional. It's the same logic as, events having too much in comics. But I think it's true. If you just go straight from Halloween, do Halloween, and then immediately into Christmas, then immediately after Christmas you go into, I don't know, Easter or something like that, it just gets a little bit silly. But also, I don't want to get kind of Christmased out. Christmas is fun for the most part. and I want to still have that kind of joy when I get the actual Christmas itself. But it has just been. I was talking to someone literally just a few minutes ago. It's been a rough old year, and I know that personally, there's lots of things. The move, which was incredibly stressful, and recent family crises and the like, and all of that. I mean, that's just personally to me. But I think generally everyone is just feeling very drained, especially in the UK. No, I mean, not to say the UK's got it worse than anywhere else. My God, do we not? But I think there's a general feeling in the UK right now, without getting too political. But I think we're just tired. We're tired. We've been. Okay, no, I have to go political on this one. I won't go too long politically, but I think between the feeling of the impact of Brexit, the kind of international impotence because of it, and the incompetence of the current Westminster government, then combined with cost of living crisis, all of that means everyone is just on absolute last legs. It is, everyone is tired, everyone is, poorer than they were. A lot of people who are, struggling, and we are not well off, but we're generally all right. But we're feeling the bite, it's there's just a general feeling of kind of grey clouds and kind of swooping doom type thing. I dislike using mentions of a particular wizarding franchise, but my wife describes it as demented swooping, and I think everything aside, that is fairly accurate as a kind of bleak kind of feeling right now in the UK, and clearly it is also elsewhere. We don't have an active war in this country, so clearly places have it a lot worse. But it's draining. It really is. So, cut a long story short on that one. I think because of that general feeling of kind of meh, when my wife suggested, maybe put up the Christmas tree, it seemed like a really good idea. Because actually, there is a nice, fun feeling about Christmas. And it's our first Christmas in our new house, so it's the whole "where is the tree going to go" thing. But it's nice, it was nice. We had some Christmas music on. There was a little bit of Baileys, because that seems to be a routine we fall into. Christmas equals Baileys in our house. Generally, sometimes when putting up decorations, often when wrapping presents, Baileys will be involved. So it's nice. It was nice to do that. And hopefully we can kind of ride the tide of that with Christmas itself. But yeah, it's just a funny feeling right now, and how to phrase this, but obviously the news right now is it's largely grim, in all directions, and absolutely, good grief, clearly worse in the places where that news is actually happening, but because of the way social media works, and because of 24-hour news and notifications, and the horrors of the world being injected into your brain by, all directions, you can't help but feel that. So I think, a bit of happiness, a bit of Christmas, I think is definitely a good idea. And I think I want to get into, and this kind of links to something I was planning to talk about anyway, I need to start watching more films. I'm an avid cinephile, a consumer of media, and I haven't seen a new film in a long time. It's been seeing something in the cinema has been a long time. It's been so long that I can't even remember the last thing that I saw in the cinema. May have been a Marvel film, but possibly not, to be honest, because I have a backlog of Marvel films and Marvel media that I need to address at some point because I do want to stay on top of it. I think everyone is feeling that with Marvel. That it's a bit hit and miss right now. They did such a kind of triumphant thing with Endgame. I think we've not recaptured that yet, but I wouldn't say it's all been rubbish. There's been some brilliant stuff post Endgame. So I do want to kind of keep going because I'm very much enjoying it. But it's time. It's just time. And I'm genuine. This is going to annoy me now. What is the last film I saw in the cinema? I don't know. Last film I saw, new film that I've seen, not at the cinema, was probably a Marvel film. I watched the Black Panther sequel. Where I was somewhere and I watched it on like an iPad, which is not the normal way I like to watch new films. But I think the point I was trying to make on this one is that I think I need to. I hate the news too. I love escaping to movies. Yeah, absolutely. There's something nice about just detaching yourself from all of that and just focus on something. And I definitely try nowadays to put my phone somewhere else if I'm going to watch a film, because I instinctively reach for it. It's terrible. It really is. So I like just almost having the cinema experience, put the phone away and just lose myself in something. And I think I need to start doing that in the evenings a bit. I think I need to just get into a habit, like I'm doing with this. This I've said, look, I'm going to do Mondays, and I will try and do more if I can. I think I want to do the same thing with watching a movie each week. I'll pick a day of the week where I'm going to watch a film in the evening. I'm just going to lose myself in that. And maybe I'll try and do more. Maybe I'll try and start a series and stuff like that. I don't want to overdo it. Don't want to overcommit. Absolutely, phone out of sight, out of mind. But I think I need that. I think the kind of disconnect from everything and just enjoy it. And with the Christmas spirit, with the tree on, maybe a small glass of Baileys or something else, I think that'd be quite nice of an evening. And hopefully my wife's work calms down a little bit. We'll be able to do that together. That'd be really, really nice. But I think I need that, and I'm getting that a bit with Baldur's Gate 3. So I've got into a routine right now of, because my wife's work is quite busy, she's doing a lot of work in the evenings. So, actually, I just need to be not in her hair. I will get our daughter down, and then I will either write or play a bit of BG3 or a bit of both in the evening, and that's good. I like the. I am really enjoying reigniting the batteries, so the creative batteries with BG3 and with writing. I feel I'm getting somewhere, which is great. But I think consuming other media as well, in terms of some movies, TV shows, I think that'd be really good, and because again, you get that thing. I mean, if I'm playing BG3 or writing for that matter, I'm sat here at a computer, on the internet, a very short distance from here where my work laptop is, which is where I'm spending a lot of time. So actually, I think geographically moving is probably useful for that as well. But so let's see how that goes. Combination of classic movies and some new movies, I think would be good. What have I not seen? So we've got, from a Marvel perspective, I've not seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 yet. That is on Disney Plus, I believe, so that is good, nice, easy and accessible. I've not seen the second Avatar film, which I do want to see because I enjoyed the first one. It wasn't groundbreaking creatively, I don't think. Well, in terms of like plot and stuff like that. In terms of what it did for technology, I think it was very impressive. But I'd like to see that. I've not seen Oppenheimer, and to be honest, this says something about how long I've been kind of out of touch with movies. I've not seen Tenet yet. And I'm not too fussed about seeing it. But I say Christopher Brookmyre. That's not his name. Christopher Nolan is, he's a good filmmaker. So the fact that actually I've not seen his latest 2 films, kind of odd. Normally I would have made a point of, I'll definitely watch that because he makes good stuff. Admittedly, Tenet, apparently you can't hear it, so you've got to have subtitles on. But we tend to have subtitles on TV anyway. But yeah, so I've got some movies to watch, TV shows, again, a little bit of Marvel on that one. I do want to watch Loki season 2, though I feel I had quite a lot of it spoiled for me by social media. Oh well, not a lot I can do about that. But I think I'm even forgetting shows I want to be watching with that, and that's not good. That's not good. I do want to see Lower Decks season 4, but I don't have Paramount Plus. I really don't want to sign up for Paramount Plus. The last thing my bank account needs is another direct debit for a streaming service. So I think I'm content to wait until that comes out on iTunes, and then I'll just probably just snap it up and probably binge it, to be honest. But I have enjoyed Lower Decks. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I just want to get back into the habit of enjoying consuming media. I have been watching more people streaming as well, especially with kind of everything around Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, whether it's some of the awesome voice actors or people playing it. But again, that feels like I'm staying within the same kind of creative circle, whereas I need to inject new things into my head. You know, especially with writing. I'm near the end of writing Blunderlings, which actually I've cracked. The bit I've been putting off for so long writing, I nailed that. Just got to tie up some loose ends on that one, and then I can get that out for play testing. But then I turn to the next project, which may be carrying on with the Myths and Legends, you know, Stuff Legends expansion, or just want to get the brain going on other things. And I think I need more types of external stimuli to help with that. That's what I'm thinking on that one. I could be completely wrong, because in the same breath I will also complain about being overstimulated. I can't win. I really can't. But, well, what can you do? Again, he starts the sentence and then takes a swig of drink. What else is going on? Well, I mentioned BG3 there, so let's talk a little bit about that for a second. My Dark Urge playthrough is going well. I'm actually into Act 3. So this has gone quicker this time, but I enjoyed it, and I'm enjoying the differences, which is very, very fun. But on that note, I finally watched the High Rollers playthrough they did with the cast, which was an awful lot of fun. I've been meaning to watch it for ages. And I just hadn't had the time. So I've just popped something up on my screen and didn't mean to. Yeah, I just hadn't had the time to sit down and enjoy it. But because I spent the last 2 weeks, I had a total of 5 days in London. So that's 45 minutes in, 45 minutes out. And most of it's just sat on a train, one train for most of that. So I chipped away at watching the 2 episodes of that High Roller stream. And that was fun. That was a lot of fun for a couple of notes. I mean, one, I haven't watched as much High Rollers as I should. I mean, Mark and the team are absolutely great, but I just haven't been able to commit the time to watching and listening to it. So that's really fun. It's got the BG3 voice cast, who are just lovely. There's no getting around this. They're just really nice people. And that was the feeling I got out of MCM, which I talked about a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and everything is... I'm just constantly impressed by... They just seem like a really nice bunch of people who like each other, which is nice. So that's kind of nice for a kind of a feel-good kick. But also there was a nostalgia thing in that stream. I mean, it's been out for a while now, so I don't mind spoiling it a bit. If you've not seen it and want to see it, sorry. Not a lot I can do about this one. But... So it was in theory just Baldur's Gate 3, but the amount of deep cut references to Baldur's Gate 2 was wonderful. I can only assume Mark Humes was a big fan of BG2, because the amount of wonderful nostalgia kicks in that were just fantastic. From the general plot, involving kind of Bodhi and Irenicus and stuff like that, and then mentions of specific bits of like the Athkatla map, Bridge District, Copper Coronet, Venturer's Mark, stuff like that. It's I think he did a really, really good job of tying even more so BG3 to BG2. Because BG2 didn't get a huge look in BG3. There were a lot of really good BG1 references with stuff like related to Saravok and the kind of Balspawn saga, but not a lot of specific mentions. Oh man, the brain is just stopping working at this stage. I just descend into utter gibberish. But there are not many mentions of specific stuff about BG2, so that was really good. You know, it was that Leonardo DiCaprio meme of him sitting and pointing at the thing. I really did enjoy that, and I would love to have a chat with Mark about all of that. He seems like just a really decent bloke. So fingers crossed, at some point at a con, I will run into him and I can buy him a coffee and talk his ear off about something. But I really enjoyed that. That was good. So the other thing I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, and there were some links in my on this. I promise I'm not just completely talking gibberish, though largely it does feel like it at times. Is audiobooks. This is one of the things that I think I've mentioned it before. So pre-pandemic, I commuted every single day, and that was half an hour? No, longer, probably longer. Each day, each day. So I got into listening to a lot of audiobooks, podcasts as well, but mainly audiobooks. So I listened to a lot of books during that commute, and now that I don't commute as often, I haven't got quite back into that habit yet. But I think there's a wonderful wealth out there of audiobooks. And inevitably when you get to this conversation, there's recommendations. And there's an extra layer to it with audiobooks, because if you're recommending an audiobook to someone, it's not just that you enjoyed the story, though that is an absolutely critical part of it, but it's the performance as well. And that can really, really make or break an audiobook. The two best audiobooks so far that I've listened to, and these have been my top two for a very long time, basically since I got an Audible account, is Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology, which is a very good read and a fantastic audiobook. I mean, Neil Gaiman is a bloody talented bloke, but he's a great orator. So so you can just listen to him talk, especially with Norse mythology, where you feel like you're sat down by the fire and he's just talking to you, and so those are really enjoyable. And he doesn't do a huge amount with the performance of it. He does. I wouldn't even say he really does voices for the most part. There's the odd little character here and there that are, gruffer or higher pitch or squeakier, But generally, the reason that's nice, beyond the book just being a very good book, is there's something to just kind of it's just something about the kind of nice, warm kind of tone of the way he tells stories, it does feel like he is telling you a story. So that's a very enjoyable listen, and I would strongly recommend it. The other one, which unfortunately is no longer available, which I think is a huge shame, is the original recording of The Martian. And that was done by R.C. Bray, which I had to look up and check, and that was the original recording of that. Now, there has been a more recent recording done by Will Wheaton, and this is absolutely nothing against Will Wheaton. I mean, nothing against him as a person. In fact, I really like 97% of what he does. But I have not listened to his reading of The Martian. But the original recording was so good. Again, had that quality of just a very engaging voice, And The Martian's a funny old book. It's a great story, but it is very scientifically accurate. It is clear that the author Andy Weir did his research. on all the scientific stuff in there. So there was a real chance that if you're reading it or listening to an audiobook of it, it could be very, very dry. But his delivery is fantastic because the narrator is so sarcastic. His delivery is just top notch. And then there's the added thing, and this is where the voices thing comes in again. He makes an effort for all the main characters to give them a different voice. And it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like bad voices. It's just done very, very well. So very, very engaging. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to that, but you can't get it now. It's a licensing thing, I think. I think the Audible have not renewed the license for that one. They've got the Will Wheaton one, which I think may even be available through their subscription service. So that one's kind of lost. I mean, you can pick it up physical edition, or if you've already bought it, you've got that. You could have that available to you. But I think that's a real shame because it is an absolutely cracking listen. Really, really is. So I would thoroughly recommend it if you can get your hands on that one. And it's not always good, the narration on things. I mean, I remember one of the first... No, that's not true at all. I was basically one of the first audiobooks I ever listened to, and that's certainly not true, but it's what I remember. I remember years and years ago, probably my late teens, I remember we had all... My friendship group had all discovered... We'd all ended up seeing the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical of Phantom of the Opera, which still has a soft spot in my heart. And I ended up listening to the audiobook of the actual book of it, which is quite different. It is enjoyable, but it was read by the late great Christopher Lee, who that kind of makes sense, if you think about it kind of objectively. You go, Phantom of the Opera, that's kind of horror adjacent. So Christopher Lee surely is a great narrator for that, and yes, in the kind of dramatic bits of it and the horror-y bits of it, it works. But there is one thing that made it very strange. Christopher Lee tries to do the voices, and in this particular case, you've got Christopher Lee, so a very, very deep baritone or bass voice, Saruman, a very, very deep vocal register, and him doing slightly high-pitched feminine voices, it doesn't land well. And you can voice female characters in audiobooks, without trying to make yourself, if you're voicing a female character and you're a bloke, especially a bloke with a deeper voice, you're never going to make your voice sound exactly like, the character you're trying to portray. But you just need to evoke the quality of it, or at the very least make it less obviously this kind of baritone voice, pretending to be a woman. And it was just strange. Maybe if I listened to it again, years later, it wouldn't be as odd, but I just remember it leaping out as like, this is odd. The other similar experience I've had recently is, I mentioned accidentally earlier Christopher Brookmyre, who is a fantastic Scottish author, and I love his books dearly. But they're all set in Scotland. And all of the audiobooks have Scottish narrators, which is good. There's one, and which is a shame because it's one of my favourite books, The Sacred Art of Stealing. There are a couple of Americans in it, and the narrator who does the voices, the narrator who narrates the whole thing, does an American accent for them, and it's kind of... I can see why they made the choice to kind of go quite so ridiculous with the voice, but it jars, and it doesn't help the fact that the entire prologue of that story is by this American character, so you're listening it to get going. It sounds weird. It's not that it's a bad American accent, I'm not going to knock anyone for their accents, but it sounds forced. I think that's it. It sounds forced, and this is something I've heard. If you're aware of, I need to get the guy's name right. Oh no, this is going to annoy me. I know. I follow the freaking guy on Twitter, and I can't think of his name. accent videos. What's the guy's name? Eric Singer. Eric Singer. Brief. That's why Google is useful at times. Eric Singer, in his wonderful accent videos, talks about he analyzes various actors doing accents in films, and he points out some cases where they've not taken ownership of an accent. And I've found this when I've done voices and stuff like that. You've got to talk through it. You've got to have an accent that you figure out how it works, kind of in terms of the logic of your mouth, and then you talk, and it becomes more natural to the point where you don't think about it. You just, I am reaching for that vowel, and I will pull the American vowel rather than my own natural kind of Southern English vowel. And then you're not thinking about it. You can just talk, and you can talk about things that you weren't expecting to talk about. And in most of the cases, if you've adopted it, it will be very rare you have a slip. If someone has not been given the time to practice, or not given the time to kind of do their research on this one, every sound sounds forced because they're clearly consciously thinking about, what does that sound like? What does that word sound like? What does that word sound like? And if they don't have a go-to, that's when their natural accent will slip through. I think that was the issue with this one. The American accent sounded forced. It didn't flow. It didn't kind of weave through the sounds. It felt like this person is having to think really hard about this accent, and it just came through. And that was a shame, because actually it's a great book. And when we got to the rest of the book, and I must say I didn't finish it because we were listening to it in the car, it sounded fine, absolutely fine. They're a great speaker, and for those bits, other than those bits, it sounded incredibly natural, flowed really well, and it's a really bloody good story. And yet, unfortunately, that, kind of slightly uncomfortable on the ears American accent kind of ruined that one. A shame. Because it was good. It was good. Oh, well. What else to talk about on that one? Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So one of the interesting ones is recently, I say recently, it's probably not actually true, again, because of the pandemic. Actor Andy Serkis, famously voice and performance capture artist of Gollum, did The Hobbit and the 3 Lord of the Rings books, and may even have done the Silmarillion as well. And that started off as a live stream. For charity, he did, I think it basically in one sitting, with comfort breaks. He read the entire Hobbit from cover to cover. And then, I don't know whether it was that recording got turned into an audiobook, or he re-recorded it with more time and chance to do retakes and stuff like that. Probably a combination of the two, I would have thought. He did a Hobbit audiobook came out, and then they did all the Lord of the Rings as well. But until now, there aren't that many recordings of it. There is one that's been around for a very, very long time. Is it by, I want to say it's Rob Gillis, something like that? Lord of the Rings, Rob Inglis? Rob Inglis. And that recording has been around for a very, very long time. That was recorded, according to this, in 1990. So, oh, good grief, that's 30-something years now. And you can hear that in the. I mean, it's a really fantastic performance. He does voices, he does songs. It's really, really good. But if you listen to it now, if you listen to a lot of modern audiobooks, and then you listen to Rob Inglis's Lord of the Rings, you can hear the difference in recording quality, because it was recorded a long time ago. Maybe they don't have the masters anymore, or maybe it was just the technology at the time. It sounds a bit dated, but it's a fantastic listen. It really is. And so I've got those. And I may listen to Andy Serkis's once a time, because Andy Serkis, bloody great performer, and very engaging speaker. So I would be interested to listen to them and compare. That would be good. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. Oh, and the last one I'll mention on the note of good audiobooks and interesting to listen to audiobooks is I've listened to a lot of Dr. Jackson Crawford's books on Norse history and Norse mythology and the like. And those are interesting to do, because if you know who Dr. Jackson Crawford is, or have listened to any of his YouTube videos, he has a very thick Southern American accent. He wears a cowboy hat for most of his videos. So very thick American accent. Yeah. But his pronunciation of Norse, because he is a is he a professor? I think he is. No, I'm calling him doctor. Is he a professor? Let's get this right. Let's credit the man correctly. Jackson Crawford. He is. Is he a doctor or is he a professor? I can't find. Former instructor, public educator. I don't know what his title is. I think he's doctor. Who knows? I've gone off on a tangent. What was this one? Yes. So because his area of expertise is the Norse language and translations of it, his pronunciation is, as far as I'm aware, because he gets it all right. So you listen to him telling these stories and these translations of poems and the like, and he obviously toggles. If he's generally speaking, he's speaking with this, southern drawl. And then when he gets to a Norse word, you are immediately transported and you assume it is, an actual, Scandinavian of the age speaking to you. And that's odd to listen to. It sounds great. Absolutely great. And his pronunciation just sounds fantastic. It transports you. But it's an interesting listen because the two contrast in such an unusual way. But anyway, which brings me on to the last thing I wanted to talk about before I wrap this up. And it's something I've been thinking about for a little while. I would quite like to do some... I'd like to read a book on stream. I'm not quite sure on the logistics of how I will do this, whether I do this as one big charity style thing, or maybe I do it chapter by chapter over a number of days or weeks. But I would like to read like a public domain book of some sort. Public domain because obviously I don't want to step on copyright issues, and I know I could probably get permission from certain people to read extracts of stuff, but if I'm reading a whole book cover to cover, whether it's in one sitting or in many, no one's going to agree to it. Maybe for charity, but probably not. So I'm thinking some sort of classic of some sort, doing it as a stream, because I think that would be fun. I think it would be nice to listen to, I would hope, because I think my voice is not horrendous on the ears. I think it could be a bit of fun, especially if I do it as a charity thing. So I'm not quite sure what I'd read. I'm weighing up something like kind of Treasure Island or Frankenstein or Dracula or something like that. One of these books that people have always meant to read, and people know to some degree. Everyone knows, broadly speaking, the plot of Dracula, but not nearly as many people have actually sat down and read the damn thing. So I think something like that could be good fun to do. I left a caveat on there that I may mispronounce some words and names, but I think that could be fun, so maybe that's a project for the new year. And I need to select the book as well, so I'll probably put that out to social media of what it might be. And it'll need to be something that I will enjoy reading. I would love to at some point read the entire of Les Mis from cover to cover. I started it a long, long time ago and gave up. But it is not an easy read. It is pondering and slow in some bits, and I don't think that'd be fun. But I think I've read Treasure Island and I've read Dracula a long time ago. I've never actually read Frankenstein. So I think those could be fun to do. I definitely want something in that category of books people have always intended to read, and not just out of a sense of intellectual wankery, that actually they would really like to read the actual text of one of these absolute classics. So that is something I'm thinking of doing, and we shall see how it goes. I will, I will get back to you on that one, but I think it'll be interesting to do, and especially after, again, listening to lots of audiobooks, I think this is something that might be a bit of fun. And I can compile the whole thing at the end. You know, we'll see about it, maybe have to edit it. But I think that could be interesting to do. And I think if I have a charity element on it as well, that would be particularly fun. I would then have to decide how the charity element came in. If I do it in one big epic stream, that would be huge. I'd have to figure out the logistics of how long that's going to take me to do, and will definitely influence my choice of book. But we shall see. We shall see. And on that note, I think I have got to a kind of natural stopping point on this. So, he says so again and takes a drink. It's one thing I'm going to take from this stream. Stop doing that. Have the sip of drink before you start the sentence. Normal kind of gubbins here. So what's going on? Well, obviously, find me on socials. I tend to be DC Bradshaw on everything. I'm still Curious Penguin on Twitter because someone's got DC Bradshaw, and I don't want to change to something similar but not quite. Especially because Twitter is kind of dying anyway. I have Patreon. I have Ko-Fi. Which are wonderful if you'd like to support me. You do get early access to certain things, but generally it is about, you know, supporting me in what I'm doing. Ko-Fi stuff goes towards the funding the creative directory, which is an invaluable tool, I hope, for the indie tabletop RPG community to find the people they want to collaborate with on particular projects, people with certain skills and areas of expertise and the like. What else? So I'm still doing the push to get Little But Fierce, my rewrite of Dungeons & Dragons for kids as young as 6. I'm trying to get that to be a gold bestseller by the end of the year, and we're pretty damn close, you know. So to be a gold bestseller, you need 501 sales on DriveThruRPG, and I am 34 sales away, and we've got, what, 41 days left of the year, so I think it's doable. I'm going to be annoying the hell out of people on social media because I'm plugging it every day, but I think we might do it. We'll see. That would be very, very cool. So we'll see what's going on there. But yeah, please, if you know people who have an interest in Dungeons and Dragons, especially those who have kids, whether they are parents, guardians, teachers, etc., etc., you know, if that is of interest, please check out Little Bit Fierce. I've stuck the link in the chat. But it'd be really good to hit that milestone because we're so close, thanks to the awesome people out there who have supported me through all of this. So that's fantastic. I think those are the big things on there. So I think I will start to wrap this up. There are a few of you out there. We seem to have a lot of bots today. But I know there are a few actual human beings out there, so thank you very much for joining in. And I think we will look at doing a little raid on this one, just because it's silly not to. If I have anyone here, and I can see that there is someone there, I will jump across to raid Cypher of Tyr. So we will do that in just a second. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful day. And we'll speak soon. Let's start the raid. We're unable to raid Cypher of Tyr at this time. Well, can't even do a raid. Who knows why, but there we go. Okay, well, that's not happening. So I'm just going to have to wrap this up. Alright, okay, ta-ta.